Hello and welcome back, everybody. Glad to see you all again. So in today's video we'll be talking about a highly controversial Titanic topic. Now this is a topic that a lot of people have been discussing pretty much ever since the day the ship went down. And now you're probably wondering, well, what is this topic? And the topic of course would be, was the ship poorly built? So there has been some speculations on why the ship succumbed to the iceberg so easily for being such a considered strong type ship. Now, what happened is people believe that there is a fire in the coal bunker, which there was, and there is proof of that, that weakened the steel. But we're going to get into that in the end of the video. But now let's just go on to the possibilities and some speculations on why the Titanic was said to be built not so good. So, speculation number one is they used cheap steel. I know they said a lot of people think they used cheap steel, but the steel in the hull was very strong indeed. When I say no expense was spared on any part of the ship's safety, including the materials it was made out of, I mean it 100%. The wood was very strong, the steel was very strong, and some people also try to blame the rivets. Now, here's how rivets worked. So, the Titanic had around 3 million rivets when it was completed. So, that's a lot of rivets if you look at it like that. So, the way a rivet was made is it would be heated up to the point where it was a glowing orange color, and then it would be put into a hole on a metal plate on the ship. And when they pounded the rivet in, it was only being held in by the head of the rivet. Now, there should be a picture of a rivet up here in the right hand of your screen, I believe. Just trying to show you what a rivet would look like that was on the Titanic and help hold the Titanic together. So, once the rivet would cool down, it would swell back up again. And that swelling would lock it into place in a sense. So, that's kind of how the rivets worked, at least. But if you ask me, I don't believe the rivets were the issue, the problem. Now, there's also other speculation that there was weak steel used for the front of the ship, the bow, and stronger steel used for the stern. If I had to say, I think they probably would have used lesser quality of steel in the stern of the ship than the bow, but that's just a speculation that I kind of think of every here and then that could have been possible, but I believe they used the same grade of steel all around the entire ship. So, people always ask, well, didn't the plates fall off when the ship hit the iceberg because of the fire? That would be, in a sense, possible, but it did not happen like that. So when the Titanic collided with the iceberg, it swept the side, as we all know. So, if you look at it, the rivets protruded from the side of the Titanic like little bumps. And when the rivets collided with the iceberg ripped the rivets out. Now, the rivets fell completely off. It's kind of like if you have a pipe with a flat end on one side, and you shove that pipe into a hole. The pipe's not going to go and fall through the other side because there's something stopping it. But if you were to take that flat piece off the pipe would eventually fall through the hole and, out of where it once was. Kind of like what happened with the Titanic's rivets that were affected by the collision. So, when this happened, from the wreck pictures and from simulations and all the other data that we have on it, we proved the one thing that could have been, quote-unquote, that was not so good quality was maybe even the rivets. Nowadays, as we all know, ships are no longer using rivets, they're used in sections, but back then every ship was made with rivets. So, back then, just depending on the company and what they were trying to accomplish, White Star Line did use decent rivets compared to other companies, but there was some tests done on the strength of the rivets and what would have, in a sense, caused them to malfunction. And when they did the test on the head of the rivet, trying to mimic what the iceberg would have done, the head snapped right off. And I wish I could put the link to the video that I watched down there, but unfortunately I couldn't get a link for it. I don't know why. It was on the Daily Motion, so if you want to go check that out, look up Titanic rivets. You should probably find it somewhere in there. But what it shows in the video is it just shows the rivets popping off like you'd pop an eraser off of a pencil. As I explained before, once this happened, the rivet had no place to go, except for either fall into the ship or out of the ship. It would not have stayed for that long. Now, the reason why I talked about the rivets is because people always say that steel plates, they were holding the bow together, that made the entire ship a ship. They fell off. That is untrue. The plates were really well put in. And no plate fell off until the ship either went underwater or hit the ocean floor. Because when the ship collided, there was only holes made in rivets that came out. But there's no data of any plate coming off of the ship during the collision. If so, the ship probably would have went down twice as quickly, if not 3 times as quickly, depending on how many plates would have came off. But the only thing that was really that did fall off of the ship when the collision happened would have been the rivets. A lot of them popped out, but there was enough of them to keep the area of the ship that was breached intact to the best of their ability for as long as they could possibly stand the pressure. Now, another thing is, people do say when the ship started to get pressure inside, rivets were popping out like bullets. That is true, but as I said before, you only have that one side holding the rivet into place, and if you put enough pressure on that, it's going to blow it out, no matter what. So, it'd be like if I say, for my pipe example, if you have a pipe and the flat piece is holding it in place, and the pipe's kind of good and wedged in the hole, and if you slap that pipe hard enough, it's going to come out, no matter if the flat piece is there or not. Because there's so much pressure on the other side, the grip and all that pretty much makes no sense at that point. It makes no difference on what's going to happen. It's going to come out regardless. And there's a lot of air pressure in the Titanic. There was a lot of water pressure, especially in the Titanic during the final moments of the sinking, that caused some rivets to blow out. And there are passenger accounts of seeing rivets blow out. I forget who, but a survivor said he was hit in the leg by one. I'm not sure if that's quite true, but if he said it, it must be true. Or it could have been a piece of debris, but as I said, I was not there. I would not know personally, and I guess we may never know. So, that is another speculation. Now, on to the last speculation of what could have caused the Titanic to sink, and was it built badly, is people think that the steel was easily, in a sense, malleable. When the Titanic's coal bunker caught fire in Belfast, a couple weeks before she was destined to set sail, there was a mark left on the ship, but the only way for them plates to have moved or been affected or weakened would be if they were to the boiling point, cherry red, and if I would have hit it with a sledgehammer, it would have dented it. That fire probably made little to no difference on the ship. Them steel plates were around this thick, if not more. So a fire may have hurt maybe the internals, but I don't believe, and many other people do not believe, that the fire was the main purpose and, cause of just such a weak hull. In all honesty, to chalk it up, if you ask my personal opinion and many other people's personal opinions, even some historians, the Titanic was not built bad. It was just the way it sunk that leads to these speculations on, was the steel weak, were the rivets bad, did the fire have anything to do with the steel being weakened? If you ask me, no. Everything kind of unfolded naturally. It wasn't due to bad steel, bad placement, or nothing like that. It was just due to the way the ship hit and the science behind that. So other than that, if you guys have anything you'd like to add in, put them in the comments section below. I would enjoy reading them and maybe even putting them in my Q&A that I'm doing in a few days from now. Once again, I said this numerous times, I'm doing a Q&A soon. I haven't got any questions about anything, so if you could please give me some questions down in the comments below. It could be anything you would like about a ship. Just something for me to work with and make that video possible, because without questions, I cannot make a video with it. So, That being said, I hope you all enjoyed this. Maybe I taught you something. Maybe I may have shed some light on the topic. And if you have anything to throw in that you have to say of your thoughts about if you think the Titanic was built bad and the steel was malleable and all that, feel free to say something in the comments. I'm always open for a small debate. Just don't take it too far, please. I'm not looking for an argument or a comment section war. That being said, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. And if you can do the very least, and just hit that like button. It gets my channel out there and brings some new people in. It's always nice to see fresh faces. So that being said, I do hope everybody here enjoyed it, or at least learned something from it. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.